Best possible comms for Season 3 patch 11.2. What's up guys, Petko here. If you haven't seen yesterday's stream, we discussed the possible comms for more than like 2 hours or so, and today I decided to give like highlights, TL'DR 5-10 minutes, break it down exactly what I think of each comms and where do I believe will be more applicable. So enjoy the talk. Alright, so first of all, neither of the comms is like scaled or ranked anyway. We just have 4 different ones and I'm gonna run you through my decision making. First of all, we have 4 different tanks. Yes, all of those tanks, in my opinion, can be equally strong depending on the key level you are running with. In my opinion, you're gonna play Brewmaster and Protection Warrior in a physical comp, and Paladins and Vengeance DH are gonna be played either in a caster or hybrid comps. Keep in mind, if you are playing low level keys, my personal recommendation is try Warrior. Does insane damage. It sings very good physical comp and it's easier to play in a comp because you don't have to pull large. In comparison, Vengeance and Prot Pally have to pull large if you're playing magical comp. So my advice. Anyway, so looking at Vengeance DH, I believe right now the best tank to pair with Vengeance is gonna be either Restoration Druid or Discipline Priest. Given the fact that the Restoration Druid right now does better HPS, I believe it's probably gonna be played more than Disc right now, unless obviously further tuning down the line appears. Now, as a choice of DPS, as you can see, currently I've chosen 3, Frost Decay, as a Rogue, and I've chosen Arcane. Now, I have a very good funnel damage from both Assassination, Arcane, and Frost even has good funnel. And my intuition lets me believe that if we substitute Arcane, for example, with Frost Mage, this can also work out, because Arcane has better funnel than Frost, but Frost has better AoE. So in some cases, you might want to play this comp, for example. Again, just suggesting. You can replace Frost Decay for Unholy. You can replace Assassination Rogue for Sup if you want to. But I believe just because Asa Rogue right now does the highest AoE damage, it will be probably better. Technically, a lot of people ask me, can you play something else outside of Mage? Just because the Mage doesn't really buff neither the Frost Decay nor the Asa Rogue. So you can technically, instead of the Mage, play, for example, something like Eli Shaman, where Eli Shaman actually gives Sky Fury to both Asa Rogue and Frost Decay. The problem is, Eli can't really lift the highest keys in the world, or at least needs a lot more babysitting compared to Mage, so that's why I'm not really recommending it. Another one I've seen around is going to be Devastation Evoker, which does insane damage. The problem is Def, just like Mages, doesn't buff Asa Rogue and Frost Decay offensive-wise, and they give you like 15% reduced movement speed cooldown, which is again probably absolutely nothing for that specs. But if you just follow the general intuition here, it's probably looking to be Mage right now as a staple comp, and things could definitely change. Now, I'm gonna bounce back the ball to the corner of magical comp, and I'm gonna say, if you really hate Vengeance DH and you don't want to see Vengeance, the alternative option here is to play Prot Paladin and Disc Priest. Technically, you can also remove Disc Priest and play again the Restoration Druid with Paladin, but I believe Disc Paladin combo, in my opinion, is better just to make Paladin live with the PSs instead of, for example, relying only on Iron Bark. But the HPS profile of Druid is better, so I guess you gotta adjust, depending on what you like to play. Think about that. Paladin is obviously much harder to play compared to Warrior, so. And also compared to Vengeance, definitely difficult spec to play out. Right here we have, again, Asa, Eli, and Unholy right now. If you don't, once again, I mentioned it in the very first comp, if you don't want to play Mage and you want to play something that syncs well with the rest of the specs, Eli Shaman could be your play. Right now, the utility of Shaman is absolutely incredible next season. You have Tremor, which can be useful in 2 occasions, Arakara and Host for Atonement. Have a Poison Dispel, which again is going to be absolutely must to have in Arakara first area and last boss too. You have, for example, Curse Dispel, very useful in Downbreaker, Double Stun as always, Purge, Bloodlust, Sky Fury, a lot of stops, Short Interrupt, and there's a lot of casters as well next season, so Short Interrupt most definitely will help you a lot compared to like longer lockout than a Mage. However, if you really hate Eli and if you really hate Mage with this comp, you can also play Destrolog. Unironically, I believe Destro does insane damage. But then a problem you're going to run to is you don't have a Bloodlust. So if you want to play Destro, you might want to kick the Unholy and get instead of them Mage. Like, this can also be a possible comp. because Mage buffs the lock. Block is doing insane AoE damage, and you already do good single target with the Frost Mage. You can also bump the Asa Rogue and technically play Sub Rogue instead of Asa if you want that. You know, I think Sub has a lot better front load burst compared to Asa, while Asa requires a little bit more ramp up damage. So yeah, those are all just possible comps. Keep that in mind, okay? Moving forward to the physical comps, right? So I believe the staple of the physical comps will be divided between Brewmaster and Warrior. For both of those comps, I think Restoration Shaman is likely going to be the go-to healer simply because of Bloodlust and also Sky Fury, which again is immense value for any physical comp. Now, for both comps, I've placed Feral Druid. I know it's super weird. A lot of people think I'm going to be coping, but I believe Feral Druid will actually be an absolutely incredible pick next season whenever you play in a physical comp due to the sheer amount of damage you can actually put. Insane AoE, one of the best in my opinion so far across all melee specs. Good prio, better single target, and again, utility-wise, Druid is just incredible. Mark of the Wild, Vortex, Typhoons, Roar, Kicks, Soothe, Poison the Spell, you name it, you know, CR as well. So it's very good to have Feral Druid in a physical comp. Just like last season, if you guys remember, you had Feral Druid with Rogue and Warrior with Brewmaster, so I think something similar could also be the case once again. I've placed Warrior here just because Battle Shout, even though Fury might not be as good as a standalone spec itself, the Battle Shout make up for the lack of damage, or I guess lack of damage compared to the top performing specs right now. So it's gonna be another option. I've placed here Beast Mastery instead of Rogue if you really hate to play full melee squad. Again, if the Restoration Shaman is fine playing with triple melee and the tank as well, you can just bump out the Hunter and play Asta Rogue, for example, Outlaw or Sub Rogue if you want to. But if you are like me, I prefer to have at least two ranges because the quality of life is just much better. But once again, you can technically bump it out, play Rogue, bump this one, play, for example, Outlaw Rogue, which benefits, in my opinion, way better from Mystic Touch compared to Asta Rogue and Sub Rogue. Or you can just play Sub if you really hate both Asa and Sub. Either way, you're going to do fantastic. If you like Protection Warrior and if you don't want to play Mistweaver, the choice here is Windwalker Monk. Windwalker Monk, unironically, even though it is currently placed as the bottom 5 DPS specs, once again, Mystic Touch will be an absolutely must-have in physical comp simply because of the sheer value it holds and the damage increase to the rest of the party members. That's why I believe you're probably going to play that one if you play with Prop Warrior and if you don't run Mistweaver. Once again, I've chosen Feral Druid and last DPS can be situational. You can choose any of the Rogue specs, any of the Hunter specs, including also Hunter. Technically, you can play that too. So yeah, I think that's so far what the possible comps that people will be running to. Destrolock, Sleeper, OP in Mass AoE, by the way. Affliction Lock, often people sleep on that, but let me tell you something. Affliction can actually do absolutely incredible. In some cases, can actually be even better than Destro, depending on the dungeon, but most of the time, Destro should be the out DPS of him. And for my personal recommendation, I know a lot of people will come out and ask me, hey Petko, what are you going to be playing next season? What is your comp that you'll be pushing with? If you guys don't know, I'll be once again, like every season, I am pushing very hard for the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season. And this is going to be my comp. Vengeance, Restoration Druid, Eli Shaman. Obviously, I'll be playing Elias main. I'm going to have Asa Rogue. And last one is going to be Arcane Mage. That's going to be my comp next season. As you can see, both Eli can be a little bit squishy with the Restoration Druid especially, but I believe you can play around it. You can there are things that the Druid can do to save you. There are not that many one shots compared to last season, so you just need a lot of good HPS, or I guess good HPS against a lot of damage, which again, Restoration Druid is likely the best option out there for that. We're gonna be swapping Arcane Mage for Frost Mage in some of the dungeons. It would really depend on what my team actually wants from each of the individual dungeons. So that's pretty much my personal recommendation. Let me know in the comments what you guys are gonna be playing, or if you have any questions about XYZ specs. I know that there's a handful of specs that we didn't discuss, but if you have a question whether, or let's say if you're playing X spec, what is the best comp to be playing with that one, ask me in the discussion or comments and I will be answering it. Anyway, I wish you guys happy season. Hope you guys achieve your goals, and we'll be be streaming the whole patch / season starting from tomorrow. Tomorrow is Tuesday, 5th of August. We begin, and I think we're gonna do a streamathon the whole month. We'll be streaming non-stop. There wouldn't be any breaks, so make sure to tune in, say hi, and yeah, see you on stream. Bye for now.